good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you're tuning in from. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is our first Talks of 2022. We're going to talk a little bit about winter poison hazards. So thank you. If you have seen Talks before, you should know Fiorella from the Virginia Poison Center. You should know me. I'm Alex. I'm with the Washington Poison Center. But you may not have met our two guests today who are going to help us talk about these winter hazards and how to stay safe. So let me introduce C-SPI, that's Certified Specialist in Poison Information, Becca Lang, as well as educator Mandy Slag, both from the Minnesota Poison Control System. Thank you both so much for joining. So we got three, different parts of the country represented here today. So three very different experiences of winter hazards, but there are some common themes throughout both. So let's dive right in. But before just to touch on some logistics, if you have questions, we do want you to ask those. Please do so in the comments section on Facebook or on YouTube, however you're watching this. And if you think of the question after the fact, say you're watching the recording and you think of a question, go ahead and still add it in the comments section. We'll do our best to check after the fact. All right, so let's get going. Let's start actually with decorations. Now, if you're like me, if you take your time putting things away fully, you may still have some holiday decorations out. I won't tell you how many I have out. You can only see so much of my apartment, so there we go. So, Becca, let's start with you. What are some general tips and considerations you want folks to keep in mind regarding putting away holiday decorations?
Yeah, so most of the time, modern decorations are mostly just a choking hazard. Nothing horribly toxic is in there. Of course, like most things, there are some exceptions to this. So one thing that we do worry about are bubble lights. So these were much more popular as decorations before the 1940s. They contain a liquid called methylene chloride, which can be harmful when ingested or sometimes even when it's absorbed through the skin. So these are much less common now, but a lot of people might still have these vintage cool decorations at home or maybe at a grandparent's house. So if one of these break, it's just important to ventilate the room to avoid being exposed to the fumes, wear gloves to clean up the liquid, and it should be disposed of as hazardous waste as well. Interestingly, snow globes, when these are broken, the liquid contains some harmful bacteria, which can kind of resemble food poisoning. Not all the time, but sometimes. And then just kind of an interesting fact, some decorations such as artificial snow used to be very toxic and contained asbestos. And asbestos was used for this purpose actually through the 1950s. So again, products these days are usually pretty safe and are sold as non-toxic and should be labeled as such if they are.
All right, thanks for walking through that. So don't eat your decorations. Make sure the kids in the home don't eat the decorations, and don't drink snow globe fluid. You should be doing fine. And if you do, if a kid gets into it, we do have a number you can call to figure out what to do. So just keep this number in mind, 1-800-222-1222. You can call us about any of these situations and more. Now, before we move away from decorations, Mandy, is there anything you'd like to add as far as prevention messaging or anything like that with holiday decorations?
I think Becca covered it really well, so I don't have anything additional to add. Thanks, Alex.
All right, perfect. All right, so let's shift gears. Fiorella, can you set us up for some of the weather issues with winter?
Yeah, so I would like to know what temperature do you have right now? Right now I have, let's see, I have just about 30 degrees. Okay, 32 degrees in Richmond, Virginia. How about you guys?
We got a 49 degrees in balmy Seattle right now.
I think I have a big question for Minnesota. I'm like,
it's actually a warm 28 degrees. It's been in the negative temps the last few days.
Glad to hear it's pretty warm and balmy in Minnesota.
It's a regular heat wave here.
Oh, gotcha. So, just to obviously, as you can tell, we have very different temperatures across the country, and we do, represent different areas. So, something to consider. Let's say we're driving, or right before, I should say, getting ready to drive. Things to consider, for example. Are there any concerns if you're using windshield wiper fluid or antifreeze, Becca?
Yeah, so both windshield wiper fluid and antifreeze contain or can contain some pretty toxic chemicals and can be dangerous even in small amounts when ingested by children or adults. So I'll just walk through that a little bit. Windshield wiper fluid generally contains a substance called methanol, which can cause blindness in a toxic amount, and antifreeze commonly has ethylene glycol in it, which can permanently damage the kidneys when it's ingested. Ethylene glycol, or what's more commonly an antifreeze, can actually taste sweet, so it makes it even more dangerous to little kids or to pets. For other ways to be exposed, like in the eyes or on the skin, we don't necessarily see those serious effects. It's just pretty irritating. So just if it gets in the eye, we just recommend doing a good rinse with water, or on the skin, making sure you wash it off with soap and water. Antifreeze, if you're someone that works on cars, if it's coming right out of the car radiator, it can cause burns just because it can be really hot. So always call the Poison Center with exposures to these chemicals, and we can kind of discuss if the exposed person would need to go into the hospital. And like with any chemical, please store them in the original containers so they don't get mistaken for things like Gatorade or soda if they're put into a drink container.
All right, thanks for walking through that, Becca. And I should say too, we talked about the Poison Center number a bit ago. It doesn't have to be an active emergency to call the Poison Center. You can call just to ask a question. So if you're about to use antifreeze, but you wanna know something about it, give us a call. We'll walk you through it. Now, Mandy, what can you tell us about concerns and prevention with sidewalk salt?
Thanks, Alex. With the ice melt, something to think about. People can inadvertently bring it home on the bottom of their shoes. So you want to wipe off your shoes when you come into the house. And then, of course, if you have toddlers or infants, they'll not only find it, but they'll put it into their mouths. So you just want to be sure to store those products up high and out of sight.
Okay, good. So how about, are there any concerns if people were to lose power? Any safety concerns when it comes to poisonings?
This is a really good reminder to always have a working carbon monoxide detector in your home. There are many sources of carbon monoxide, and it's a colorless, tasteless, odorless gas that can be deadly. So a couple of things, like you never want to use a grill inside your home, as this could cause a buildup of carbon monoxide. Same thing with heating up your car. Be sure to pull out of the garage, and you never want to sit in a car that's heating up while the garage door is closed, because that can build up carbon monoxide as well. And the symptoms can be kind of vague and resemble other types of illness. So things like nausea, vomiting, headaches, and fatigue. So it's just super important to have a detector to know that, if you start having these types of symptoms, that if the alarm's going off, then you know that you need to get out of the situation, and then get fresh air is kind of the first step there.
Okay, good. Any other points, anybody?
I was just going to add that it's important to, when you have those carbon monoxide detectors to make sure and check them regularly. A good tip is to check them when you change your clocks twice a year.
Just to make sure they are working, when they're working correctly. I mean, just working to begin with, and working correctly.
Yep, and changing the batteries as well.
Well, I mean, it seems like we welcome people for, questions if you have any questions regarding winter safety. But we are always here. We're open. The Poison Helpline is open 24/7. We are free, and we have experts standing by. And the call can be made in any language. We will have. We actually have interpreters that can help with this. Any last thoughts, perhaps, Alex?
Yeah, I was thinking when you were talking about the sidewalk salt, Mandy, making sure to wipe shoes and stuff. For those who have pets, make sure their paws are free of the sidewalk salt as well. And I do want to emphasize, unfortunately, we don't take pet calls at the Poison Center. We are the People Poison Center. But there is a pet poison center that folks can reach out to. Keep in mind, they aren't free. They do have a consultation fee, but we can get that number put in the comment section there for anyone who needs to call on their critters, their pets. Let's see. Oh, and just, I can never reiterate enough, the bread and butter of Poison Center safety messaging really comes down to safe storage, making sure you store things up high, out of reach, in their proper containers. And as both Becca and Mandy were saying, some like antifreeze can taste sweet, and it's often blue. Gatorade is also blue, so don't put it in a Gatorade bottle, please. And if something happens, if you make a mistake, please give us a call. There is no shame, there's no stigma, there's no cost in calling your local Poison Center, and that number will route you to your local one based on your area code. All right, I'm going to see if we've got any comments here before we go ahead. Oh, and that was just thank you, Megan, for getting those links put for the Animal Poison Control Center. Well, with that, folks, if you think of other questions, feel free to put them in the comment section. We'll check the recordings later on. Share this recording to other folks you think might benefit from it, which really is everyone. So share it far and wide. And Becca and Mandy, thank you so much for joining today.
Yes, thank you. Keep safe.
All right. Stay healthy and safe, everybody. Take care now.